How's it going, the hybrid engine athletes? This is Coach Anthony. I'm here to explain our next cycle that we're going to do over the next few weeks. This should take us from the end of our friend cycle all the way through to November, and then we'll reevaluate there about where we're going to go. Schedule-wise, upcoming, we have September 23rd. We have some athletes going to Hyrox, Madrid. October 28th and 29th is the Hypercon Games. You can see there's quite a big gap here, a few weeks, so that's good for this type of building, including this as well. So really it's from the end of the Friends cycle until about November 11th. We got Hyrox Chicago, the following weekend Hyrox Dallas. I've heard some of you guys are going to be going there. Into the first weekend of December, which is the Deka Worlds in Dallas, and I know several of you are going to be going there. So we'll switch after this. This will really help with that in terms of building your base aerobic and your volume, and then tapering into like a fine point for something like Deka Worlds in Dallas. Also December 2nd, Hyrox Stockholm, December 9th and 10th, 21K and 3K OCR World Championships for Spartan in Abu Dhabi. I know a couple people are going there. I don't know if they're still going there after looking at ticket prices. But December 16th, Hyrox LA, February 10th, Hyrox Vienna, and March, Hyrox DC. So as you can see, whereas last time we had a lot of red up here indicating a very strong Deka block, now we got a lot of blue indicating just a little bit more Hyrox. And all that means is that the volume goes up a little bit. And when we talk about that, that's what we'll get into next. So the next 8 weeks, so at the end of the Friends cycle, we are entering an 8-week block, an 8-week volume build. That will help us with volume, base aerobic, our muscular endurance, and then we'll throw in some Hyrox skills towards the end of that as we get towards one of the Hyrox events that a lot of people are going to be going to, which would be Hyrox Chicago and or Dallas. So how are we going to be doing that? That means that you'll see your zone 2 work will increase, not just more amount of it, but a longer duration in the amounts that we do. You'll see more running, biking, rowing, and skiing. And what that means is that most of the time our running is about 50% of our total volume each week. That number, along with the machine work, will increase. Okay, so you'll start to see the machine work, the biking, the running, that total volume, if you add it up over the week, might creep up towards the like 65%. And then lots of squatting. We're talking about our endurance, our muscular endurance. We're talking about it in our legs. We need to get our legs being able to flush that lactic acid or that lactate on the runs, because we want to clear it while we're running, so it's easier for us to build it during these stations. So what are we going to be doing in order to do that? What that means is you'll see your threshold runs will still be on there, and we'll get into when and where. You'll still see threshold runs, but you'll see threshold finishers. So you'll do your threshold runs, and then after your runs, you'll have something like 100 wall balls, 100 squats, short sprints, push-ups, things like that. Just things that like, hey, you've been working for this longer duration, which your thresholds are going to increase, probably like 1 or 2 sets now. And then at the end of it, you're going to get a finisher. A finisher just tops you off basically when you're already tired. It's a good way to get some work in there. You'll see some base tests. So we don't test a lot. Usually we indicate the events that we're performing in. Those are our tests, but we'll get some base numbers, some base tests out of this. You might see a 5K come up, maybe a 10K. I might do a pick your choice, like sprint a mile, get your mile times, things like that. We have to have something we're working off of. We don't put a lot of value in what those base numbers are. Those are just there to help us train, okay? They're not there to make an indication. We're only worried about the events that we're going to be performing in. But you'll see some base tests. One of those base tests will be a lactic threshold test. So we're actually going to go test what our lactic threshold is so that we know we're hitting the right numbers. And don't hate me, those are some of the worst tests. We'll see brick work. We're gonna accomplish these goals through brick work. And if you've ever done triathlon training or anything, brick work is where you do, short piece, long piece, short piece, but you still have the 3 phases and the transitions and everything. So you'll see brickwork, but mixed in with our Hyrox training and other things like that. And then what we're going to do is towards the end of this, we're going to convert our volume into power. What that means is maybe, one day, within the day, you're doing 300 push-ups. Okay, now we're going to reduce that. Now you're going to do 200 push-ups, but you have an hour to do it. So your intensity and your power goes way up. And we'll start to condense. And what you do is you build the volume so you can, your muscles are used to doing this amount, and then you start to compress it. And as you compress it, you don't do as much volume, but you do it in a shorter amount of time. Really ramps up that power and intensity. And then we're going to be doing something called triphasic. That is your eccentrics, your isometrics, and your concentrics. Okay, 3 phases, triphasic. Made popular by Cal Dietz, the LSU football lifting coach, strength and conditioning coach. What you want to do is when you do this, you'll see slow tempos on the way down for different movements. You'll see isometric holds in different positions, and you'll see concentric or reactive movements. And those concentric and reactive movements are explosive. You want to move as fast as possible. We're trying to get our rate of force development up, and the rate of force development is the faster you can move the same amount of weight, the higher your RFD goes. So that's how we're going to be accomplishing it. That's what we're going to be doing to reach our focuses and our goals. As you know, I program it in 6 different sections, and the way we're going to do this is our monostructural sections. We're going to have long zone 2, or we're going to have zone 2s on Monday, thresholds on Tuesday, zone 2s on Wednesday, zone 2s and or active recoveries on Thursday. So we took out one of the speeds. More thresholds on Friday. Speed will be there, but it's much shorter, once a week. It's not as necessary for these long builds, so you only touch on it every week a little bit. And then long work, long zone 2 stuff on Sundays. Now, if you have a different schedule and you want to mix things around, you can kind of just push everything back a day. If you want your Sunday long run there, then that'll move the zone 2 to there. So you just play with it a little bit. Just make sure you're not missing the thresholds. Make sure you keep them separated. The zone 2s you can play around with. The speed you can play around with. And the long run you can play around with. Just mix it up with some of the zone 2 stuff. Take your active recovery days. Usually I calculate those as either a Monday, Thursday, or a Sunday, Thursday, or however it is. It's usually 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, just for the way you recover. Don't worry if you miss a day, just pick right up into where we're at. You won't skip it the next week, all right? So that's in terms of monostructural what we're doing. Strength, still the same 3-day cycle, squat, press, deadlift, squat, press, deadlift, squat, press, deadlift. You'll see isos and eccentrics, that's the triphasic portion. You'll see higher rep volumes. So we'll be doing it in the 8 to 12 rep range. Don't worry about, if you're worried about hypertrophy and growing your muscle and getting really big or anything. If you want to get big, you have to eat to get big. We'll get into that later, but if you want to grow and get bigger muscles and everything, you have to eat that way. So if you continue eating just for your caloric replacement, you'll be just fine doing higher rep ranges and all that stuff. And the intensity is going to be 60 to 75% of your 1 rep maxes. If you don't know your 1 rep maxes, take some time, try to figure out approximate ones. Go to a 3 rep or a 2 rep where form breaks down and calculate it from there. There's no reason to go 1 rep as far as you can with all the gear and the waiting for your form to just tank and, oh look, I got it up. But don't worry about that. No reason to do that right now. We're not in a powerlifting competition or anything that requires something like that. Applied strength, you'll see power pieces. You'll see a whole lot of core work. If you don't have a GHD or don't have access to a GHD, there'll be several variations you can do, including Supermans, V-ups, med ball sit-ups. You can sit on a med ball and do full overextended GHDs, decline sit-ups, things like that. There's ways to incorporate it. I'll try to write in the notes hey, if you don't have this implement, you can do it this way. So just take a look at those and have fun with it. You'll see mixed EMOMs. So mixed EMOMs are things, you've seen a couple of them before. You'll start to see more of them. Mixed EMOMs are things like wall balls and knee balls in the same minute over 10 minutes. You'll see push-ups and pull-ups, dips and pull-ups. You'll see assault bike and wall balls. You'll see wall balls and pull-ups. You'll see different mixed implements, mixed movements in there on an EMOM that you're supposed to complete in a minute. And you'll also see alternating EMOMs. Alternating EMOMs are minute 1, I do X, minute 2, I do Y, minute 3, I do Z, and then minute 4, I rest. Or maybe the rest isn't in there, but you'll see how it's built in like that. The GPP, the general physical preparedness, you will see zone 3 and zone 4 stuff. So we're not taking it super hard. It's not all out sprints. I just want you to work in a good zone, a good rate that's a little bit higher than zone 2, but not quite the threshold which would be upwards of zone 4, okay? So work in that like 3 to 4 range. You're not going as hard as you would on those. Those days you won't see as much. You can actually take that down to zone 3, maybe even zone 2. But the reason for the GPP is our practice. We want to practice the movements. We want to get used to them. We want to transition. We want to practice our transitions. You'll see a lot of the brick work in the GPP. And then we move on to the extra credit. The extra credit, you'll see the Grease the Groove, GTG. Okay, Grease the Groove is very popular in like the 60s. All you gotta do is you just practice a skill every once in a while to keep your body aware of what you're supposed to be doing. And you'll see lots of skill movements. So you'll see a whole bunch of maybe higher skills than what is required, just so that we are getting that practice in. We're getting that proprioception. We're making sure that we're aware of where our body is in space. Okay? And then the gross conditioning will be your extra zone 2 stuff, maybe some extra machine stuff. You might get some double thresholds in there. So pay attention to that gross conditioning. You'll build a lot. You'll definitely be seeing some Stairmaster, incline hikes, rucks. You'll probably see a 15-minute at 15% incline. How far can you go? Maybe with a ruck or a bag on or a weight vest or something. So make sure you're paying attention to your zone 2. Don't skip it. It's very important, especially for building your base aerobic. Our theme, instead of friends, we are now doing fall. Welcome to autumn. Welcome to fall. We love October, Halloween time. So you'll see lots of Halloween stuff, fall, pumpkin spice, whatever you want. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to get on this next 8-week cycle with you guys. And I hope you have a good one out there. To go fast, go alone. To go far, go together. Have a good one, guys.